Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, you know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe following in Africa, Big C. Also, we love you in Canada, but I just got to tell you, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south, in the land of the free, in the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, overall, it's going pretty good down here. But, you know, I just need to say this as we open the show. And I praise what you have said in the closing of our show.
Yes.
Ever since we've been on, that there's no violence, no place against women in America.
Yep.
And today, Larry Nassar, the doctor of the U.S. gymnastics team and Olympics team, was sentenced up to 175 years in prison. And, you know, and I heard one of the young ladies speaking, you know, what's the price of a little girl?
Yeah.
You know, in the closing sentencing statements about Larry Nassar. And I look at Larry Nassar, as an scapegoat, and I'm extremely troubled by being a dad of a daughter.
Yeah.
You know, in this scenario, Charlton. And I mean, this is something that there's never an easy time to talk. It's like racism in America, Charlton.
Yeah.
When is the time right? Okay? They'll always say the time, you know, it's not the time right now to address this.
Yeah.
And it's always the time to address this, Charlton, when we're talking about protecting the women in our society, the little girls in our society.
Yeah.
And Larry Nassar is an scapegoat. I feel that in my heart that he is an scapegoat, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because for over 20 years, he was enabled by people who paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this.
Yeah.
The United States Olympic Committee, the United States Gymnastics Association, the Michigan State University, the medical school at Michigan State University. All these people were enablers to Larry Nassar to allow him to go on and do this. And I want to bring politics in this in a way. We heard that last week that the president attorney paid this female entertainer $130,000 to keep quiet about his extramarital affair.
Yeah.
Okay? The United States Olympic Committee paid one of the young ladies $1.5 million a couple years ago not to tell her story.
Yeah.
Okay? And if she paid her story, that they were going to take some of the money back.
Yeah.
Due to a clause that they had put in this agreement. Now, if they were willing to pay her a couple of years ago, Charlton, $1.5 million, that meant that they were culpable and knowledgeable about what Larry Nassar had been doing in this prolonged stance.
Yep, you're
and
right.
They didn't mind putting money forth
to
keep people quiet, because if she talked about him, maybe he would turn over some other people.
Yeah.
Which is what they didn't want, Charlton. And that's what, you know, is troubling me so much today about this Larry Nassar case.
Yeah.
Yes, he's going to go to prison for the rest of his life. But everybody from the IOC, from the Gymnastics Association, from Michigan State's medical school, from all the administrators at Michigan State who had knowledge of Larry Nassar will walk away free. These enablers will walk away free. And I feel that some of them were co-participants, Charlton.
Well, you know,
yeah,
that is a very good point that you brought up. And I also would like to just say it. I appreciate you making that statement, Big C, because in our society, we have to find a way to keep women safe. And it's easy to say that, but what about when it's your own child? I do want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you on this beautiful January 24th, 2018. But Big C, you open the show so poignantly. I think every person can understand. You don't have to have a daughter to stand up against sexual assault. You don't have to have a wife to stand up against sexual assault. But understand, it happens when people have power. So for every man and woman out there, do you know where your children are? Can we all say that we know where our kids are? And when we entrust them into the hands of other people, especially like the IOC, little girls grow up wanting to be a part of the American Olympics team. But then you have people who are part of that team that won't even protect them when those predators come calling. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they hired the predator, Charlton. And I you never as a doctor are supposed to be in the room alone with a female patient, Charlton, especially a minor female patient.
Yeah.
So who was in the room with Larry Nassar while all these incidents were occurring, Charlton?
Yeah.
That person was a participant in these actions. But what bothers me the most is the president of Michigan State. And this is what people are saying about it. Well, she's a tremendous fundraiser. Okay, she gets all the funds from the Breslin Center, where they play basketball at Michigan State.
Yeah.
What they're saying is that the value of these young girls does not outweigh the money that is contributed to the university because she's a tremendous fundraiser.
Yeah.
Is that her going out getting money is worth more than these young girls' lives, Charlton. And that's why I said, what is the value of a young girl in America?
Yeah.
This takes me back to civil rights. This is what Dr. King marched for, Megan Evans marched for, Charlton.
Yep.
Rosa Parks stood up and sit down and said, I'm not going to take this anymore.
Yeah.
But yet, those various people who oppressed those minorities back in those days, Charlton, who said they did not have the rights of white American men.
Yep.
And even still today, white females were part of the civil rights movement. They gained rights from the civil rights movement.
Yep.
Even in today's society, led by the President of the United States, saying you can do whatever you want to a woman when you're famous.
His own words.
Larry Nassar was a famous doctor, Charlton.
Yeah.
He controlled lives. He had the right to say whether you could or could not participate in international and Olympic gymnastics.
Yeah. That's
that you were too injured to compete. So he lived the words of what the President of the United States said. When you're rich and famous, which they made him very wealthy paying him, Charlton.
Yep.
He was a famous Olympic doctor.
Yeah.
And so he did what the President said he was doing all the time. And yet these young girls didn't have a voice because if they did anything against this doctor, he could say, well, she's too injured to compete.
Yeah.
And she would be scrapped from the competitive list, Charlton.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up because Donald Trump, no matter who the president is, when something of this magnitude happens, you would expect POTUS to come out and at least give a statement in support of those women who have been abused. Even though he's going through his own accusations. If you say you're innocent, then come out and speak. Don't hide in the shadows if you think you're innocent. Come out and speak it. Don't just pay people off. Come out and speak. You would expect the POTUS, and no matter whether you're Democrat or Republican, whether you like sports, or if you're so dumb that all you care about is who won the game last night, then find someone else to listen to. But you would expect POTUS to come out and speak to every little girl in the United States of America that makes America great again. You know that guy? Tell every little girl that's been going with this garbage that you're going to protect them, that you're not going to let this happen, that you're going to have at least the nation's dialogue is going to be how do we keep young people safe, especially women. A lot of men can defend themselves, even though boys are assaulted too. We know the Penn State thing. But when it comes to little girls, at some point in time, every father has to protect his daughter. And if you don't have the ability to, at least POTUS could come out and make a statement about how do we stop predatory behavior in the United States of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. And I'm waiting for POTUS to come out and do it, but he hasn't done anything about it yet, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, one of the most disappointing parts of this presidency, Charlton, is that he has not spoken up against any heinous act by a white male in the United States since he has become president. And we look at a lot of the heinous acts. We look at the Las Vegas shooting, Charlton.
Yeah.
We look at the rundown in Charlottesville, Charlton.
Yeah.
Not only that, Charlton, as of yesterday, since his inauguration as president, we've had 11 school shootings in the United States.
Ouch.
Yesterday in Kentucky was the 11th.
Wow.
But we've had 11 school shootings since he's become president. And he has not stood up and spoken negatively once, Charlton, about these heinous acts. He has not spoken against that.
Wow.
And so to think about him speaking out in protection against young girls in America, Charlton, that's beneath him. He cannot do that because of the type of individual predator that he is, Charlton.
Yeah.
He cannot speak about protecting women. But anything that a president should have spoke up on were any of these school shootings that have occurred, Charlton. We've had 11.
Yeah.
And this heinous conviction of Larry Nassar. But this is right. This is like having a neighbor of his in a way.
Yeah.
That he can't speak negatively of a guy that's committing the same type of acts that he's doing.
Yeah.
How do you go out and condone yourself, Charlton?
Yeah, and that's something that he should do, though. Because anyone can be accused. You know, you have the right to face your accuser in the United States of America. Anyone can be accused of anything. It doesn't mean it's real. So he could still take that stance as if he did not have these accusations and come out and talk to men. Because a lot of people listen to the president, whether they like him or not, they still listen to what he says. And he would be the one guy in the United States of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, to come out and say that sexual assault is not tolerated. Even if he's accused of it, he can still come out and say it. And that's not, I mean, that's what we need out of our leadership. The fact that he's silent, Big C, that just makes it a lot more scary for young girls who go through it. But I got to bring this point up. You just talked about it earlier. Words matter. And I remember when he was out stomping to become the Republican nominee. And when he got the nomination, I remember at one of the conferences he had, at one of the conventions he had, he said, when people act up, beat the hell out of them, and I'll pay your legal bills. Now, some people are so dumb, they take that what he says as true. And when these guys, you have 11 shootings, maybe some of those people listen to President. They listen to POTUS. I wonder if POTUS has offered to pay the legal bills of these people who have murdered innocent Americans. Because if you look at his words, it was his words that said that garbage. And Big C, words are powerful. Doesn't make any sense to you, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he has led by example. When you think about the negativity that he has spewed throughout America and all the negative acts he's done against citizens of America, even these DACA children that have been in this country, Charlton, there's a doctor in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah.
Been in this country almost 40 years. He was brought here from Israel by his parents as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay? Middle Easterner. But he's worked in Kalamazoo in the hospital there in Charlton for over a decade, working countless hours of overtime.
Yeah.
He practices internal medicine. That means he saves Americans' lives, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he had his immigration papers, and they denied him on this turnaround to renew his immigration papers, Charlton.
Wow.
Now, he's working. He's a tax-paying citizen. He's saving American lives. But immigration arrested him, Charlton. He's sitting in jail in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Wow.
Potential deportation because of the president's laws. Now, this is not Larry Nassar, okay?
Yeah.
He was not in the hospital molesting people like Larry Nassar. But you arrest a doctor who is not committing crimes against humanity.
Wow.
And you leave a doctor who is committing crimes against humanity on the street in the same state, Charlton. This is my thought that the president and the immigration department is using this as a deflection against Larry Nassar. Okay, we got this doctor here who's here, they say illegally, even though he's been here since he was 5 years old.
Yeah.
You know, got a medical degree, went to med school, got his doctors, and he's operating on American citizens, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's not doing anything illegal. He's not Larry Nassar.
Yeah.
But Larry Nassar was allowed to operate in the same state over 20 years, Charlton, on the state's dime, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Through various presidencies. Through Trump.
Yeah.
Through Obama.
Yeah.
Through Bush.
Yeah.
All of these guys, Charlton.
You know.
He operated, and even Clinton, he operated under these presidents, Charlton.
Yeah. And do you think,
yeah. When making government money, he was on the government payroll, Charlton, for 20 years.
Wow. I tell you, for anyone who has a daughter in your life, we all hope and pray that nothing bad ever happens to anyone we love. And for men who are in a position to have access to the airwaves, not everybody's going to agree with everything we say. We know that. We don't even expect that for a second. But I still would love the president to come up and say about what we do. There's no excuse for violence against women. We may just protect the next girl when some knucklehead man says, you know what? I'm glad I heard that because I've been listening to guys tell me beat the hell out of people who'll pay my legal bills. And then you hear other people saying there's no excuse for it. There's no room for it. I know Oprah Winfrey had that great speech down in Los Angeles for one of the awards shows just about 2 weeks ago. She got a rounding applause, a standing ovation, and there were people saying should she run for office, whether she does or not. That message is so clear. Even Oprah Winfrey herself was a victim of assault when she was growing up. There's a lot of women. Maya Angelou went through that. A lot of women, a lot of Hollywood elites. And I hope that we can do that public service thing where they just make it part of their mantra. the same way we ask them to buy beer. Almost every sporting event, you can watch a beer commercial or you can watch a car commercial on every television event. It's okay to run a little 10-second. No room for domestic violence, no room for sexual assault against anybody, and I hope we can make that true. I just want to say this last thing about Nassar, and I saw some of the proceedings on CNN, and there's no word on Trump saying that white men are rapists and murderers. I was just drawing that conclusion as one of my Hispanic friends brought that up to me. Nassar is not from Mexico, and he's not part of this enmity, this xenophobia that America, some parts of it, has against people of color. And I just hope the president can at least come out and say there's no room for sexual assault. Big C, should we wait for that announcement, or should we just keep on with the show? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he ran on this rapist and murderer theme, Charlton, from Mexico, okay?
Yep.
And I just mentioned a few moments ago, we've had 11 school shootings since he's become president, okay?
Yeah.
None of these people are from Mexico that committed these shootings, Charlton, okay?
Nope.
None of these people are from Mexico that committed these 11 school shootings.
Yeah,
the shooter in Las Vegas, Charlton, was not from Mexico.
No.
Okay? When he shot 800 people, he was not from Mexico, Charlton.
Yeah.
And any other heinous event that we've seen here in America, Charlton, these people have not been from Mexico. Fox News has spent months on this one Mexican immigrant that this young lady died in San Francisco over.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They made it a focal point. They've had over 100 hours of news coverage on this illegal immigrant. This one. Okay?
Yeah.
They did not commit 100 hours of news coverage to Las Vegas, Charlton.
No, and they did not. Yeah.
58 people died. Fox News did not commit 100 hours of coverage to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay? They will not commit 100 hours of coverage to any of these school shootings, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because it was not a Mexican involved in it. It was not Trump's agenda involved in that, Charlton.
Yeah. And I think
Trump will not mention any of these, Charlton.
Well, I would hope that he would, because anyone can atone for their mistakes, but I would hope to see the president do that, even just for his own. I think he has grandchildren, God forbid. You know, I know he has a couple of kids, and be that as it may, I would hope that anyone can stand up and at least speak out for the women. You know, he has a wife that didn't go to him on one of his trips across the sea, Big C, because this thing came out with this prostitute, or I guess the woman in the pornographic industry that Donald paid about $130,000 to, his lawyer did. And here's his wife, who, to no fault of her own, you know, people can say what they want to say about her being, you know, a little bit, I guess you could say, some people go out and buy the most expensive whatever they can put on their fingers and their hands, and they say, hey, I'm American too. But it's a shame, just speaking up for her as a woman. Now, it's a shame that she has to put up with that also, because here's a guy that's she knows he's a pig, but now he's embarrassed her to the point where he's even sleeping with women that do that for a living, and makes it publicly known that he paid them $130,000, yet at the same time, he won't stand up against women who are assaulted, Big C. What can we say to any woman that sits behind some man that says, well, my husband would never do that. He's so honorable and graceful. Let's be real. We know a lot of men who are in that kind of behavior. And if you're consenting, that's different than someone who's having it forced on you like Larry Nassar. What can we say to the women like the First Lady when their husbands are such piggish people, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, to have a First Lady of character who will speak in representation of the women and young girls of America, that's what we don't have. We had that in the previous White House, Charlton.
Yeah.
That the previous First Lady was very involved in women's rights and in children's rights.
Yep.
In protection of female citizens, Charlton, in America. We don't get that anymore.
Yeah.
We can't have someone speak in that behalf, and yet she's sleeping with the guy who's
doing it. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Who is willing to grab people illegally, who is willing to pay people off for their silence, and tell you to go out and buy whatever you want just to keep you quiet and happy. Okay?
Yeah.
You got to look at that. You know, as a First Lady, when you're walking around with a jacket on that's equal to the average American salary, Charlton.
Yep.
You can't have empathy for people. You cannot.
Yeah.
You can walk into an event, you have a $60,000 designer jacket on.
Yeah.
You can't have empathy for the layman American person, Charlton.
Yeah.
You can't identify with these young girls in the Olympic trials, Charlton, going through whatever abuse they have to do to try to reach their life goals.
Yeah.
because your goal is in a credit card. That's what you've gotten. Because you had nothing prior to that.
Yeah, you know.
So you did whatever you could do to get to that point.
There was a show called, and I can't remember. I think it was Robert Redford. It was called Indecent Proposal, and they had the Demi Moore.
Yep.
In
Woody Harrelson, Robert Redford.
Yeah, you know, all I gotta do is say the name. You know, you must have a Google that works really fast, Big C. Your Google works a lot fast. So, yeah, okay, of all places. But I just think at some point in time, and we know adults do what they want to do, and if you're consenting, there's nothing wrong with that. No one's sitting here trying to play Jesus if you believe in Jesus. There are just times when there are things that we would expect POTUS to do to keep all women safe, especially young girls, and they just haven't done it. So we'll do the most that we can on the Big C Sports Show. But I know for every father that has a daughter anywhere, I don't find any father in all of my time of doing any kind of sports show or political show or whatever show, I've yet to meet the man that did not want to make sure that his own daughter was in a safe environment, especially when they're out of the home. You don't know what your kids are doing when they're out of the house. We have no idea. We only hope that we taught them well, and that they understand consequences before they do things, because there's sometimes we can't help them. If they can't listen to how we raise them, we can't help them. But at least you would expect the principals at these schools like Michigan State and everyone involved. Why send a kid? You can't just pick out Michigan State because there's a lot of programs. Penn State, same thing. We had some issues down at Baylor. There are issues with, we just had some things with Patino down at Louisville. So we know it goes on all over the country. But I'm more important to me, Big C, and for a lot of fathers that I talk to, tell your girls to call 911. If you report a sexual assault to your ombudsman or your company, they're going to go to their higher up, and they may keep it quiet to protect the image of the company.
Larry Nassar was reported 10 years ago originally, okay?
Oh, he was?
10 years ago. This just didn't come out this last
But to the police department?
He was originally reported to administration 10 years ago.
But not to the police department, though. Yeah.
Well, you're a young girl, Charlton. Who do you go to?
911. 911.
Well, as a teenager, they don't always know.
Yeah.
So they're reporting to authorities, within the system.
Yeah.
When you're in these camps, you're in these villages that they keep these kids, Charlton, there's no police around you. So you're telling people in the administration, and they're keeping you silent. You think about it. Did the IOC go tell the police that they gave $1.5 million to one of the girls to keep?
Wow. That's a very good point.
Did they go tell them? You're telling the young girl to go tell this. Did the IOC say, hey, we paid this young girl $1.5 million so that she wouldn't report the sexual abuse that's been going on that we know about?
Wow.
Now, they knew about the sexual abuse. That's the reason why they paid the $1.5 million, Charles.
Yeah.
So when you got the committee that's giving out $1.5 million for silence,
yeah,
that means that they're culpable, Charlton.
Exactly.
They're accessories.
Yep. Exactly.
They're accessories.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why I encourage every young girl, woman, old or young, if you hit 911 on your phone, they record the conversation, and they got to take a report. Your boss at work may not do that. That's why 911 will keep a lot more women safe than going to your boss at work, who also may be accused of the same kind of stuff that Trump has been doing and accused of. So that's why I think it's so important. We can send our girls off to college doing that.
You got to look at this, Charlton. Her dreams are so vast.
Yeah.
What she wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
Little small girls don't have many opportunities to achieve claim, and most of these gymnasts are in that 5 foot or shorter range, okay?
Yeah.
If you get above 5'3", it's going to be very difficult for you to be a gymnast.
Yeah.
So this is a very small, meek girl.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And she knows the minute she turns to law enforcement, her career is completely over. But if she feels that she turns to the administration, maybe they will correct some of the problem and protect them.
Yep.
But the administration had known about this abuse for some time. That's why they were so willing to give her the money so that she wouldn't tell her story.
Yeah.
Well, so if you don't tell your story, what is going to come? You're not going to end up with anything. So we'll give you the $1.5 million. We'll make the abuse go away.
Yeah.
But if you tell law enforcement, you're going to end up with nothing. You're going to be embarrassed. You're going to be shamed in public. People are going to look at you weirdly from now on. You won't be able to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You're going to be the person that's brought down the U.S. Olympic team. These are all the strategies that are going to be used on these young girls, the psychological warfare that they pit against them, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about a 13, 14, 15-year-old girl, and then you got these adults that are in their 40s and 50s, maybe even their 60s, ganging up on you and telling you what you're going to destroy.
Yeah.
And is it worth it? Is everybody's going to get damaged because you say something?
Yeah.
None of these girls are going to have a chance. So you put all this mental pressure on this young girl, telling her how she's going to destroy everybody.
Yeah.
She's been hurt, and we'll give you some compensation, but you're going to destroy everybody's opportunity. Think about the weight of that on a 14, 15-year-old's mind, Charlton.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's why we still say call 911. It can help. It's a start for people to get help outside of the organization that's trying to protect them. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, we need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, even your mom and pop soccer leagues, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. Call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Big C, I know we've had so much to talk about, and again, keep all women safe as much as we can, young boys and girls too. I do want to touch on a little bit of what's happening in the world of sports, and I talk about something that makes everybody think about, who deserves to get in what and who's going to be left out. America is great for sports and competition, but the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I don't know anyone who can say they're squeaky clean, Big C. You've seen baseball for years, and we look at players being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I still don't see Barry Bonds. I still don't see Roger Clemens. Whether they did something or did not do something, most of baseball was doing something that's considered illegal, Big C, back in the day, and a lot of good old boys get in because they were never put under the fire. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, back in the day when I was an active athlete, baseball players are known for using greenies, which is amphetamines.
Yeah.
And so you're on something when you're on amphetamines. So baseball players have never been clean. And, you can go back to the 50s and 60s when they started using amphetamines.
Yeah.
And they're going to sit up and say, well, these guys use performance enhancement. Last I checked, an amphetamine was a performance enhancement drug, Charlton.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everybody that was elected into the Hall of Fame that played in the 60s and 70s were all on amphetamine.
Yeah.
And so for these writers to say that they're purists, I guess it depends on the type of drug that you use as a baseball player.
Yep.
Because they could use the same type of drug and use these amphetamines to keep track of all these games.
Yeah.
So to sit here and say that Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds should not get into the Hall of Fame, and congratulations for the four who did get in.
Yeah.
Chipper Jones.
Yeah.
Ryan Guerrero. Jim Thome, and
Trevor Hoffman, I think, also.
Trevor Hoffman, a relief pitcher, probably one of the top 3 or 4 relief pitchers of all time.
Yeah.
That got into the Hall of Fame today, Charlton. Congratulations to those 4 gentlemen.
Yeah.
But to sit up and say, as a baseball writer, that you should dictate someone's post-career life, Charlton, because you didn't like them.
Yeah.
Or you didn't like what you allegedly heard, even though you don't have any evidence. And normally in America, you're supposed to be in front of a jury when you're convicted, Charlton.
Yep.
None of these people have been convicted in front of a jury. So this is the thing about these writers. If you're going to sit there and pass judgment, pre-voting on an individual, why are you in this? Because I can guarantee you your life is not that clean.
Yeah.
If we go in and bring in the FBI and do a background survey on everything you did, some of the cats that you buried in the backyard, a bunch of other things, you shouldn't be having a pen in your hand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like Jesus said, he without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah, there'd be nobody throwing stones, Big C. And I bring the thing up. I mean, Barry Bonds, when I started working over in San Francisco, and they just built AT&T Park, but even prior to that, down at 3Com Park, Candlestick Park, whatever they named it, I'll never forget how awesome he was when they played at the old Candlestick Park. He was never really a media favorite because his father was also a former baseball player, and he saw how the media had his love-hate relationship with athletes. One minute they loved you, the next minute they hated you. So he learned to, I'm not speaking for Barry Bonds. I know sometimes he rubbed people the wrong way because of his attitude. But he saw how people could turn on you the same way they did turn on him, Big C, but they were kissing his butt when they wanted an award for him or his autograph. Big C, your thoughts?
You gonna tell me that Barry Bonds is more abrasive than Bill Belichick?
No.
Tell me what time, when did Bill Belichick ever give a gracious interview?
Yeah.
Okay, Barry Bonds is the same type of analytical person as Bill Belichick. Well, maybe, yes, that's where I am.
Yeah.
Same type of answers. But Bill Belichick is beloved for being this type of person. People say, well, that's just Bill being Bill.
Yeah.
And it was just Barry being Barry. Barry was playing to hit baseballs, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what he was paid to do. He wasn't paid to be a journalist.
Yep.
He wasn't paid to sit up on the podium and give the interviews. That's for the manager and the GM.
Yeah.
Barry's job was to knock the hell out of the baseball, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're saying that, well, because he wouldn't talk to us and make our stories easy.
Yeah.
And this is what we constantly talk about. Today's alleged journalists need somebody to keep talking. So you'll ask an athlete when you watch on the podium, he'll get asked the same 10 questions by 10 different reporters.
Yeah.
Hoping that they can get him to alter his answer.
Yeah.
And when he doesn't do that, well, he's not, open to the media.
Yeah.
What is he supposed to say? When did the president give an honest, open answer?
We're still waiting.
And everybody in his cabinet has been coached to say, I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't recall. I don't remember. We're still waiting for that, Big C. But I get on the thing with Bonds because I started at Candlestick Park when he was there, and there are times when I would cover the San Francisco Giants doing stats and also doing some radio work, and they would have about 15 to 20,000 people at Candlestick Park. I remember a game where the Phillies came to town. They were playing in San Francisco. And in the summertime when it was cold, the winds were swirling around at Candlestick Park. But there were 20,000 people in the stands. They moved the ballpark to downtown. A lot of people say because Barry built that park. That's just like what they say in San Francisco as a great athlete. Unlike the great Willie Mays, who kind of made 3Com Park, Candlestick Park famous with his great play. But Barry Bonds is responsible for the new 3Com AT&T Park. He's part of that. And the fact that they loved him so much as an athlete, putting the interest back in San Francisco baseball, they have a ballpark behind him. So see, if he's good enough to have a ballpark built behind him, who are these people in the Hall of Fame saying we don't want him in, but thanks for the great ballpark that's built partly because of how great he was, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, these writers, Charlton, who are supposed to be so sanctimonious, and baseball purists. These guys, and I'm like this in any hall vote, Charlton, whether it's football, basketball, because I look at how Randy Moss and Terrell Owens haven't made the NFL Hall of Fame, especially Terrell Owens. He was number 3 all-time receiver when he retired. And here it is, you overpassing on votes saying, well, we didn't like him.
Yeah.
But what was it not to like about him? I said, John Madden, as you said one time in a broadcast when they played the Green Bay Packers.
In a playoff game.
In a playoff game, and he called a touchdown pass from Steve Young.
Yeah.
And John Madden said, you think they don't care? You think he doesn't care about this game?
Yeah.
He played the game with passion, Charlton.
Yeah.
When T.O. was between the hash marks, there wasn't a better receiver during his career.
No.
To be Randy Moss, that was about it.
Yeah.
But, he played with professionalism when he was on the field.
Yeah.
It's not you to critique a guy and about what he does for a living, just like with Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
When he was at bat, every opposing manager, Charlton, respected him. Okay?
Yeah.
Every opposing pitcher respected him. Because I don't care whether a guy is using substance or what, Charlton.
Yep.
You still have to hit that little round seed that's being thrown at you at over 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And these pitchers were in fear every time they released the ball to Bonds. You think about it. Here's a guy who got walked a third of the time that he came to the plate in his major league career with the Giants.
Yeah.
A third of the time he didn't even get a chance to swing. That's respect. And so I think everybody who has a vote in the Hall of Fame should be at least a former manager in baseball. They should all have one. The current or former manager in baseball, they should all have one, Charlton. And pitchers.
Yeah.
When it comes to hitters, pitchers need to have a vote.
Yeah.
And the guys that you played against and managed against, these are the people who need to have votes when it comes up, whether you're in the football, baseball, basketball, hockey Hall of Fame, Charlton.
Yeah.
Your peers These are the people who should establish who deserves to be in something, not some writer who couldn't get the interview and the words that he wanted to come out of an athlete's mouth, Charlton.
You know what's incredible, too, about Barry Bonds? Barry Bonds went to the same high school as the great Tom Brady at Sarah High School in San Mateo, California, part of the West Catholic Athletic League, one of the better sports leagues and educational leagues in all of Northern California. They both came out of that school. I believe Lynn Swann also went to that school, Sarah High School in San Mateo. There are a lot of great athletes that came out of there, so they understand the Bay Area Peninsula. The reason I bring that up, Barry Bonds went on to Arizona State. So he stayed on the West Coast. He grew up in Northern California. His father played for the Giants. So he saw all the media people that loved and hated his father. He saw the coverage he got in high school, not the same that he got, of course, in college at Arizona State, but also when he played baseball in Pittsburgh and then coming out to San Francisco. He's lived in the media all of his life. And this is for the current athlete now. Everybody loves and hates LeBron James, and they love Giannis, and they loved and hated Kobe. I think everybody loves Shaq. Nobody really hated Shaq, but you can't please everybody. But I'll bring this point up. The same people that were kissing his butt when he was a junior down at Sarah High School in San Mateo and a senior, went on to Arizona State, then played for the Pirates and then the Giants. Some of those same people in San Francisco that love that brand new ballpark because guys like Barry Bonds built it, they won't even vote for him. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, talking, when he's making your life easy, it's easy.
Yeah.
You're loving the guy, and he was, because, he was always ticker tape home runs.
Yeah.
And it was an easy story to write. The Giants come behind because of Bonds. Giants, take the lead because of Bonds.
Yeah.
But there was nothing to talk about. He was just doing his job. And after so many years, how do you explain what you do with a bat? I swing it.
Yeah.
I hit the ball. I intimidate people. This is what I do. How many ways can you say that? I listened to Tom Brady's last interview. You talked about him coming from the same high school.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady's last interview after the game said, hey, we're getting ready for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And even before that, he was like, we got Jaguars coming up. We're talking about Jacksonville.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the hand. We're talking about Jacksonville.
Yeah.
He became a little Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
But Bill Belichick, ever since he's been the head coach of New England, they're a good team. They're up for this week.
Big C, I thought we had Belichick chiming in on the Big C Sports Show. You sound just like him, and you guys have the same vernacular. For a little second, I thought we had Belichick on the program because you sound so much like him, Big C. Go right ahead, sir.
but as I look at these guys, and they're never criticized for not being long-winded with the media.
No.
Greg Popovich has always been, hey, I'm going to say what I want to say. But you love Popovich.
Yeah.
But, it's like LeBron, and you brought up LeBron. You got so many people saying they either love or hate LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron has been LeBron ever since he's been in the NBA.
Yeah.
If you look beyond the NBA at LeBron, if American society could be like LeBron, don't sit there and talk about his loyalty to a city, a loyalty to a team. Look at what LeBron has done as an activist in America.
Yeah.
LeBron has always put kids first, not like Michigan State, okay?
Yeah. Yep.
LeBron has put kids first, not like Larry Nassar.
Yeah.
LeBron has put kids first in protecting kids, giving kids opportunities, Charlton, helping kids educationally, emotionally, financially, setting up a charter school, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is LeBron. LeBron's reach is beyond the world of basketball, and that's what reporters have a hard time dealing with.
Yeah.
He's a great humanitarian is what LeBron James is. One of the world's greatest basketball players of all time, Charlton.
Yeah.
But he's also one of the world's great humanitarian athletes of all time.
Yeah.
For what he has provided for those underprivileged children who without LeBron otherwise would have never had a chance in life.
That's a good point.
These are the things that people don't look at about LeBron. They think about his 30,000-point plateau that he reached, the youngest of all time.
And congrats on that.
Congrats on that, but congratulations on all of what you have done for society, LeBron.
Yeah.
As a man, not as an athlete, but as a man.
Yeah.
You have embraced the responsibility of a cultured adult well beyond your years as far as what you're giving to your communities and society that you have achieved. And you to choose not to wish for accolades on that.
Yeah.
And this is what the reporters don't understand. They don't know how to address that with LeBron.
Yeah.
His greatness beyond the athletic realm, Charlton.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I think about it's this diaspora of young black talent, and you can Google this. Since black men have been able to integrate sports, it's become a $1 billion industry. Okay, but some of the same times, the African American athletes, sometimes people want to write the worst stories about them, and that's just part of reality. You can Google that too. I do want to think we talked about Bonds and what he meant to baseball not getting in, and I also look at Roger Clemens. I know that these guys he was dominant on the mound. He's a guy who threw strikes, Big C. He didn't walk a lot of people. He threw strikes. He was dominant. Okay, now people say, yeah, but what about the needles? He said those needles weren't his. He could have been part of the Trump administration, Big C, because even just like Sessions just denied the needles weren't his. That's what he said. Jeff Sessions, he doesn't recall, Big C. But just taking the fact that we don't know who's clean, we don't know who's not clean. There's a lot of athletes that do whatever they got to do to make $10 to $20 million a year. As the average person working 9 to 5 would do whatever they had to make $20 million a year if they had that chance. And you brought it up earlier, Big C. Give me your thoughts on why Clemens, who's been with several different teams, and he's also what America has looked for on the mound. They looked for that big white kid that could throw hard and had a mean look about him when he threw. He wasn't a nice guy compared to a lot of people on the mound. But why are they keeping him out? He's more of the prodigal son for what baseball looks for than Barry Bonds. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, because he testified in front of Congress, Charlton. And that's what's holding him back more than anything else, is that he testified in front of Congress. Keith Hernandez did it along with Mark McGuire, and a few others, Charlton.
Yeah.
But when they testified in front of Congress, and they didn't recall anything, just like Congress doesn't recall things.
Jeff Sessions? Yeah.
They don't recall anything.
Yeah.
So that really scorned him from having that opportunity to be inducted early into the Hall of Fame, Charlton.
Yeah.
But as a former athlete, Charlton, when you're out there playing and being competitive and everybody's cheering for you and writing for you, Charlton,
yeah,
they're not asking what are you doing legally or illegally.
No.
They're only concerned about the joy that you bring to them in their viewing and the ease that you make it for them to write a story, Charlton.
Yeah.
And that's all that's important. And as a sports writer, you're supposed to be talking about the sport.
Yep.
Not any alleged scenario that went on outside the realm of playing.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody gets caught up in now, Charlton. Let's deal within the realm of playing. And let's take all this other stuff out. Because, Charlton, how did any of these athletes get tested in the 60s?
I don't know.
Everybody was taking amphetamines.
Yeah.
In the 70s, when they were taking amphetamines.
Yeah.
Reporters won't talk about that. They won't say that these guys are purists.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to tell me that a guy could go out and party for two or 3 days straight and still hit a baseball without having some substance in his system? No, just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he was high on something, Charlton, and you got to realize cocaine was a recreational drug in the 40s and 50s in America.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when Babe Ruth was playing, cocaine was a recreational drug. as well as Roger Maris and a lot of these other guys. So.
Yeah, a lot of them.
It wasn't stringent like it is now under police control.
Yeah, and so
certain parts of society had access to that.
Yeah.
So when you sit there and talk about players say they had this constant motor,
yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That motor came from somewhere. It just come from their cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's a power motor a lot of these good boys had, and they had the chance to go and kind of go under the radar with it because we didn't have 1,000 media outlets back in the day the way we do now. So no matter what you think about Barry Bonds, no matter what you think about Clemens, they did it on the plain surface. Okay, they were not manufactured the way we manufacture some hype. Something about baseball, even unlike in football. At baseball, you can see if someone hit the ball. You can see that, Big C. You can't see in football, you could also see if someone caught the ball. Well, nowadays, you don't know if it's a catch or not a catch, Big C, the way the NFL's looking at things. But at least in that sport, Barry had to hit the ball. He had to coordinate the baseball bat to the ball. Clemens had to make sure that someone couldn't hit his fastball. So whether they did something or did not do something, that is something that we can talk about for infinity. But in the baseball universe, Big C, no one can say that those two guys were not as dominant as anyone that played in their era of sports. And if they did something, I'm sure the guys that they were competing against also did the same thing. I want to close out with this here, Big C. In California, we have golf is as big as anything because Tiger's back. Even though Tiger's been away with the surgery and some of the other issues he's dealt with because of that surgery, and now he's back in the swing of things down in Southern California, I believe Torrey Pines, and the golf world is abuzz again. Golf is more relevant now because Tiger. The only thing missing is the buzz over Phil Mickelson when they competed against each other. Just give me your thoughts on Tiger, whether he makes the cut or not. He just had a back surgery, so he'll be back, obviously, but I'm not expecting him to win anything until he gets his swing back under him. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he opens up tomorrow at Valhalla, which is basically a backyard course for him.
Yeah.
He's won there 8 times in his career. It's been a long time since he's won. But, the biggest hope for Tiger being in this tournament, Charlton, is to make the cut.
Yeah.
To be able to play on the weekends where America can sit down and bring back some of that reminiscence of Tiger's one-time greatness.
Yeah.
We don't expect him to win a tournament right now. We just want Tiger to be competitive because it means so much in American society. We always root for the underdog.
Yeah.
We always look for the competitiveness in sports. And that's what Tiger brings to everybody right now, Charlton, especially those older people.
Yeah.
When you think about a guy that is coming back from adversity who once had it all, and he has struggled over the past couple of years with various things that all Americans struggle with.
Yeah.
Addiction to opiates, Charlton.
Yeah.
And admitting to it, going into various therapies over time, having surgery, trying to gain your once youthful vigor that you once had in your competitive sport. And Tiger gives that hope, as he did early in his career, that anybody can be successful in golf.
Yeah.
Now he's bringing that hope once again. Anybody can recover from devastating past in their life,
yeah,
and come back and be prominent once again.
Yeah, and you think about it too, Big C. His father was such a great mentor in his life and helped him go on to have the right mindset to win 14 majors. And at 14 majors, people talk. Tiger's not 50 years old; he's in the early 40s. And here's a guy that I know he's going to win more majors, and if he stays at it, he's going to break Jack's record, which I know a lot of the golf gods don't want that to happen. The golf universe doesn't want Tiger to break Jack's record because golf has always been considered a white man's game. And whether you believe that or not, that's just a fact. But if he were to break the record, there's a lot of other people that would shake up all of the negative images of African Americans over the years. And I think for kids all over the world, they would galvanize to that and maybe make golf more popular, because golf needs to add it needs a suntan, Big C, if you get my drift. Golf could use a suntan to become more of a universal appeal, and as opposed to some pseudo elitist sport where all kids can feel like they can be the next Tiger Woods. Big C, that make any sense to you?
Well, Tiger Woods was a great galvanizer of golf, Charlton. When you think about the other people, because you had Arnold's Army and Jack's, regime and stuff, but Tiger was the galvanizer of golf. It was not a racial thing with golf.
No.
With Tiger.
Yep.
It became that universal acceptance that everybody could play this game. Being a multicultural minority man, Tiger opened the door for so many, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
And he made the world recognize that it's about being you. It's not about looking a certain way. It was about being you, carrying yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what Tiger did.
Yeah.
In his early days of being a tremendous golfer, Charlton,
yeah,
tremendous athlete.
Yeah.
People wanted to be Tiger. There was a saying one time, Bo knows. And Bo ran with that for a long time.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everybody wanted to be like Mike.
Yep.
But in the end, everybody wanted to be with Tiger, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that. Everybody wanted to be like Bo, everybody wanted to be like Mike, but everybody wanted to be with Tiger. Even Bo and Mike wanted to hang around Tiger.
Yeah, that's true. And Tiger was too busy golfing to hang out with some of the guys that were in other sports, because he was like that Belichick effect. He was focused, and some people say, well, Tiger's kind of boring. He's just, all he wants to do is play golf. But
Tiger was a killer.
He knew how to focus.
That was the mindset. He was a killer.
Yeah.
He was like Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I'm knocking you out.
Yeah, he wanted to get the championships, and I think in time, in the next 10 years, if he stays healthy, and I hope that he does, just for his own sake, he'll get the 18 majors, and some people might scoff at that, but you think about what he's done before he became injured and had some of the issues with his wife breaking out the window of his Escalade. He was rolling, Big C, and ironically, some things happened in life that stopped his momentum at that time. So if you focus on what he has to do, all he has to do is win one major a year over the next 4 years, tie Jack's record. And in order to do that, he just has to stay healthy. Big C, what would it mean to the media to have a black man standing at the head of the golf universe and say that he's the best in the history of the universe as opposed to Jack? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there's going to be some old-time golfers that it'd be hard to swallow.
Yeah.
That they'll always have to recognize Tiger as the greatest. In a game that blacks were in it from for decades, Charlton, that they were not allowed to compete.
Yeah.
That in a short time span, that you look at the heights that Tiger Woods has reached and obtained in that once exclusive association of professional golfers.
Yeah.
That his father could not play in, that other African Americans could not play in, Charlton, but to have risen to the heights and a claim that he has in a sport that was taught to be only for whites in America.
Yeah.
That blacks could not play. You think about that. When we talk about segregation, during the time of segregation, Charlton, blacks were not allowed to play on the PGA Tour or the LPGA Tour.
Yeah.
So this is a very short history window that Tiger has competed in, Charlton, and dominated.
Yeah.
He didn't have that time back in the 50s and 60s when Arnold and Jack were playing.
Yeah.
He didn't get that opportunity, nor did other African Americans. So when you look at the history that Tiger has set, Charlton, in the golf world, it has been a very short window of opportunity, but a very long window of dominance, Charlton.
Big C, you understand TV and radio and media. In the last few minutes, I know Tiger coming back is great for the world of golf, but you know how America has a love-hate relationship with anyone who's on top? Does Tiger need a Phil Mickelson to be there? I'm just going to say it because it's honest. The white people voted for Phil to win, and the black Americans or people of color pulled for Tiger. And then there's always that in-between group. But do they need that? Because it's true, Big C. Donald Trump, that's how he became president. You got to put people at each other. You got to have them at each other's throats. Does TV need to manufacture someone that Tiger can compete against as opposed to Johnson or Spieth, because they really can't compare with what Tiger's done historically? They need someone like a Mickelson to come back on the scene, or someone that can at least make that kind of tension that makes good for ratings. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when I think of Tiger, I think of the late Tupac Shakur, and he had a song, Me Against the World.
Yeah.
And that's, I got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And that's Tiger. It's me against the world. Tiger has nothing to lose, Charlton. He's playing with house money. Yeah. He is. What does Tiger have to lose? He's not going to lose any of the acclaim that he has built up over the years on the golf course. Yeah. It's everybody versus Tiger. Yeah. And I think what the world wants to see is Tiger battle against a couple of these young guys, a couple of George Spieth, Roy McIlroy, Ricky Fowler. They want to see something like that. Jason Day. Yeah. They want to see Tiger on that final day paired up with one of these guys, Charlton. Yeah. Playing for the championship. That's what the world want to see. That Tiger Field, thing was like Frazier Ali. Yeah. Frazier was gone and Ali was still there.
Well, okay? we understand.
That's gone and Ali was still there. So that's what Tiger and Phil is. Yeah. Tiger is back, just like Ali, out of retirement.
Yeah. I tell you what.
Phil is gone.
Yeah, that's a very good point you bring up. And I always wonder, because you being in the southern part of the country, how people are a little bit different socially than sometimes those out here in the West Coast. People tend to interact more. And I know publicly people do the same thing down south, but I know there's still a lot of people that keep to themselves, if that makes sense, Big C, in some parts of the world. So when we close with this saying, with Tiger coming back, whether he has success or not down in Southern California, of course, it's great for the golf universe if he has success. I would love to see it just for the sake of golf, because golf needs an injection the same way Every sports needs someone to be the king of that sports. We talked about Barry Bonds. We talked about Clemens. We talked about just the other day, LeBron James. How would he compare if he played against Wilt Chamberlain? Would he still get the highlights that he has now compared to the great Wilt Chamberlain? We talked about so many people in the world of sports, Montana and Brady. How would they compare Chuck Nolan, Bill Walsh, and Belichick and all them good old boys? From a Southern perspective, do they want to see Tiger win, or is that more something that people expect on the West Coast, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, talking from a Southern perspective, the best matchup for Tiger on a final round would be him playing against Bubba Watson, the good old Southern boy who's won the Masters twice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your perfect contrast. Bubba Watson from Georgia, University of Georgia product, versus Tiger Woods, West Coast, University of Stanford product, and minority. You know, what better matchup could you have? And especially at Augusta. That would be the perfect Masters in April.
Oh, my goodness.
Bubba Watson, Tiger Woods on that final, pairing on Sunday.
Big C, you make me want to go watch the movie Tin Cup or Caddyshack when I can watch some good old boys that made fun of having fun on the golf course. I just want to say that back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, what I'm looking at is the Eastern Conference with the NBA. You know, since Christmas Day, the Cleveland Cavaliers are only 3-10 since Christmas Day, and not far behind that. When you look at the Boston Celtics, if you remember earlier in the season, Charlton, they had a 16-game win streak. You know, and lately they've come back to earth. They've been only 16-12 since they had that 16-game win streak. But when you look at the Eastern Conference of the NBA, it's gotten really tight. The Toronto Raptors are just a game and a half out of first place behind the Celtics now. So this is the division that's tightening up. Everybody's trying to figure out what's wrong with the Cavaliers. They're an old team without direction. Everybody's saying we need to get rid of Tyronn Lue. Tyronn Lue is not the problem. The general manager that they lost is the problem with the organization. You try to put Kevin Love at center. That will happen for a short, 3 or 4 or 5 game series, not for a season. They're going to have to get Tristan Thompson back in the pivot. Maybe that will stabilize things in the paint. Put Kevin Love back out at the 4 where he's comfortable and used to be a perennial all-star, Charlton. But basketball in the Eastern Conference has gotten really tight. The Clippers on a 4-game losing streak, Charlton, could be 5 tonight versus the Clippers.
Well, Big C, I tell you, there's so much in the world of sports and politics. We love bringing it all to you. You can follow it every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always want to tell you, there's never ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no woman should have to go through that garbage on her own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.